Most common questions I see popping up in Facebook groups and other places where freelancers are interacting is about how to price their work. And the difficult response to this is that simply it depends. You're not always going to be able to find a good way to price your work easily and simply because there are so many different factors that can influence what a client is willing to pay, as well as what your individual background is that translates over to what you're charging a particular client. Now, editing, although I will most often tell freelancers, don't charge yourself hourly. It's never a good idea to do that. Editing is an exception to that because you don't know how long it's going to take you to do something. And one of the worst things you can do is, review someone's first sample chapter and it seems like it's going to be all right and you quote a fixed price based on that, but then it ends up taking you 10 times as long because maybe the first chapter wasn't indicative of the rest of the editing work. So when it comes to pricing your editing work, I strongly recommend using an hourly rate. That way you have some flexibility because you may have clients who want you to do more editing or less editing, and it also depends on the quality of the work that they bring to you to begin with. So somebody who doesn't speak English as their first language but has written a book in English, that's going to take an intensive amount of time, and the best way to account for that is to charge on an hourly basis. Your client may say that they want a cap on it, or you're to let them know when you hit a certain number of hours, and that's totally fine. But pricing hourly is strongly recommended for these types of situations when you don't know how much the scope of the work is going to be. One thing I do encourage you to clarify up front is how many rounds of revisions or rounds of editing may be included. The client may still ask you for some good insight into how long you think a particular piece will take. I like to give people ranges so that they know what they're going to pay in terms of a budget, so they don't feel that sticker shock when they receive an invoice for 10 hours. Some clients don't honestly have a good idea of how long it might take to edit something in particular. In order to get a better sense of this, you're going to want to ask for a piece of what needs to be edited. Now, if it's a blog, you don't really need to see too much, right? They might just send you one blog. But if it's larger pieces of content, white papers, academic papers, books, etc., you're going to want to see at least a portion of it so you can tell where the quality of the work is at, and you can sort of price yourself accordingly. Because even on an hourly basis, work that requires a lot of fixes and grammar and punctuation changes and fixing a lot of language issues is going to be more difficult to go through than something where you're just sort of doing a copy editing pass. So the simple answer to how to price your freelance editing work is to do it on an hourly basis. There's so many factors that go into even choosing an hourly rate: your experience in the field, your expertise, if you've ever served in a professional writing or editing role before, do you have advanced degrees in journalism, communication, writing, things of that nature. That can also help to boost your hourly income. One of the best ways to figure out whether or not you are charging the right amount as a freelance editor is to go ahead and set yourself up as a freelance editor already and charge a basic established rate for your first couple of projects, and then you can tweak it from there. Did you feel like that was fair after the fact? And you can also evaluate people's work and perhaps adjust your hourly rate based on how intense it's going to be. Best of luck launching your freelance career. For more tips about a freelance writing and editing career and how to get started, visit sixfigurewritingsecrets.com.